Because he used to have casino.
I gotta tell you,
but he's not wrong. The whole world has become a casino.
Yeah, because he's making it a casino.
Well, he certainly has contributed, yes.
Contributed?
Well,
Bill,
you think Poly Market wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Donald Trump? I think it would anyway.
I'll tell you what, it would absolutely exist.
Okay.
And I want to know if there's any chance that you're not going to run, by the way, because I will put in a bet right now. Because that's the way the corruption works these days. It's right in your face. I don't want to see this soldier be the face of this problem. Of course, what he did is wrong. That's easy. You're making billion-dollar oil bets minutes before the president makes an announcement, and no one on the right says anything.
In today's video, Chris Cuomo has a heated exchange with Bill Maher on Real Time with Bill Maher. As the discussion turns tense over Trump, government ethics, and political hypocrisy, Cuomo pushes back with sharp arguments and direct facts, while Maher struggles to keep up during the intense live debate. Let's watch how Chris Cuomo fires back at Bill Maher on Real Time with Bill Maher.
Yes, today, this was in the news. A soldier who was involved in the operation to get Maduro out of Venezuela, which was a success, by the way.
Yep.
Okay, we got to give success.
Yep.
Okay, he bet on it.
Yeah.
He won $400,000, and they asked Trump about it, and Trump said, "The whole world, unfortunately, has become somewhat of a casino."
No irony. No irony when he said it.
Because he used to have casino.
I gotta tell you,
but he's not wrong. The whole world has become a casino.
Yeah, because he's making it a casino.
Well, he certainly has contributed, yes.
Contributed?
Well,
Bill,
you think Poly Market wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Donald Trump? I think it would anyway.
I'll tell you what, it would absolutely exist.
Okay.
And I want to know if there's any chance that you're not going to run, by the way, because I will put in a bet right now. Because that's the way the corruption works these days. It's right in your face. I don't want to see this soldier be the face of this problem. Of course, what he did is wrong. That's easy. You're making billion-dollar oil bets minutes before the president makes an announcement, and no one on the right says anything except Anna Paulina Luna and 2 or 3 others who should all be heroized for this, in my opinion. The corruption is so in your face. Yes, what this cat did was wrong, okay? And he's going to suffer. But he should not be the face of the problem. And people in Congress who are yapping about him when they said nothing about these other things are the worst. And when they're trading stocks and they won't even have a vote on the bill, they are the worst. They're the worst.
We could pass a law tomorrow. Congress could pass a law tomorrow doing what you did. Right. They could pass a law tomorrow preventing themselves from trading stocks. They're not doing it. They're not even bound by the employment discrimination laws that they've passed for everyone else. And we don't hold them accountable. We're just like, oh, I guess Congress just puts out press releases and holds hearings, and we fight over gerrymandering. Like, put the pressure where it belongs, not on the courts of whether they're going to uphold or strike this down. That is a statutory question, which means it's up to Congress.
How many people, if you did a survey, would even know who the congressperson is? One guy applauded. I didn't even know what, I don't know if it was like, I do, or it was like, yeah, you're right, Bill. I don't know.
Well, their new approval rating is at 10%, and I would love to meet someone in the 10%. Who's like, yeah, they're crushing it out there.
It's them. It's them. That's who it is. It's them and the donuts. You know, maybe that's who it is.
What made this moment interesting is that Chris Cuomo was pointing to a much bigger problem than one soldier making a reckless bet. The real issue is how political gambling, insider access, and influence trading have quietly become normal in Washington. Prediction markets like Poly Market and Kalshare have grown fast, and lawmakers from both parties are now warning that people with inside government knowledge could use these markets to profit from sensitive political or military events. Congress even introduced several bills this year to stop officials and their families from betting on political or geopolitical outcomes because of rising corruption concerns. That's why Cuomo's frustration strikes a chord with so many people. Americans keep watching members of Congress trade stocks tied to industries they regulate, lobbyists cash in after private briefings, and wealthy insiders place suspiciously timed bets before major announcements, while ordinary people are told this is just how politics works. Public trust keeps dropping because the system looks like it rewards access and connections instead of accountability. The irony is that Congress could fix a big part of this problem right away if lawmakers actually wanted to. Polls show most Americans support banning congressional stock trading, yet lawmakers keep delaying votes or watering down reform proposals. Even the prediction market companies themselves are now facing pressure to keep politicians and insiders out, because the optics look so bad. Cuomo's point also resonates emotionally. since people are tired of watching billionaires and political insiders play by different rules while ordinary Americans face consequences for every small mistake. When corruption feels open and shameless instead of hidden, it only deepens distrust in government. What makes Cuomo's argument stronger is that this isn't just a partisan issue. Democrats, Republicans, ethics watchdogs, and financial experts have all raised serious concerns about insider trading risks tied to political betting and prediction markets.
A firing squad, they're dead in a second.
That's right.
What they do now is this chemical thing where they kind of just put you out. You know, it's the Nora Jones music
take
is
close
playing.
to it.
It's like a spot. Right, really. And then half the time, the shit they put in you doesn't work.
It takes a really long time to put someone to death. We have people watching it.
It's not, yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Can I offer a different perspective?
Yes, please.
Just while we're all lining up to shoot people in the head.
I'm just saying, if you're going to do it, that's the way.
I think that there's an aspect of the death penalty that should matter, which is what is the social instruction? And I think that the reason they're doing this is that this administration is very embracing of brutality. He has a very misplaced sense of macho, this president. And yeah, we're just going to shoot you in the head is some kind of attempt to be tough. And it's not tough. It's weak. And I think these kinds of instructions, you know, look, this is the same story for all of our families. My family came to this country because they thought it was a place that was going to be better, that it was beautiful for opportunity, where they would have a chance, where they wouldn't have to worry about the oppression they had at home. That's not what we are with these kinds of things. If you want the death penalty, fine. It doesn't work, okay? It doesn't deter crime.
Well, it deters that criminal.
It is, yeah, it does, but it gives an instruction that death is okay, that murder is okay, killing is okay. It's not murder technically, killing is okay. I think the social instruction matters. I think when you're saying, yeah, we'll just shoot you in the head, I think it cheapens something that should be the highest value.
Where are you on the death penalty? Where is it in Maryland, and where are you personally?
We in Maryland, it's banned inside of Maryland. But I do think it is an important point, because when people are talking about the death penalty as an idea of a deterrence, the reality is it's not, right? There's no data that shows that this is a deterrence for how people are going to behave or how people are going to act. But it does create a bigger thing about how are we thinking about this value? How are we thinking about what it is that we hope for and what it is that we're aspiring to? And I think about it in context of this, right? When I first became the governor, we had an absolute violence crisis within our state. I mean, Baltimore City was averaging almost a homicide a day when I first became the governor. And I was very clear that we were going to have a different type of approach, that we made historic investments in local law enforcement. We made historic investments, and we made Maryland one of the only states that actually helps to fund the U.S. attorney out of balance sheet. So if a person commits a violent crime, particularly with a firearm, I'm going to have them handcuffed in 24 hours, and we're going to make sure that crime, especially if it is a firearm crime, we're going to help to make sure that goes federal. And if you look at the results, we've now seen how the violent crime rate in Maryland is down nearly 50%. It's the fastest drop in the entire country. The last time the homicide rate was this low in Baltimore City, I wasn't born yet.
What makes this side of the argument stronger is that it relies on outcomes and long-term data rather than emotional reactions. Multiple studies on capital punishment in the U.S. have repeatedly found no solid evidence that it prevents violent crime more effectively than life imprisonment. In fact, several states without capital punishment report homicide rates equal to or even lower than states that still carry out executions, suggesting that crime deterrence depends more on effective policing and certainty of punishment than on how severe the punishment is. This lines up with what criminologists see in cities that invest in focused enforcement strategies. When law enforcement prioritizes fast response times, higher case clearance rates, and stronger coordination on gun-related crimes, homicide rates often drop significantly. Baltimore is a common example, since its reductions in violent crime are linked more to strategic policing and targeted investment than to harsher sentencing laws. There's also a broader policy trend at play. Tough-on-crime policies have historically won political support but often created side effects like overcrowded prisons, rising correctional costs, and instability in heavily policed communities. Over time, many policy experts across the political spectrum have shifted toward prevention, rehabilitation, and consistent enforcement instead of symbolic harsh punishment. Another concern is how extreme punishment methods, like firing squads or public executions, affect public trust by raising ethical questions about whether the justice system is meant to display power or ensure fair, proportional accountability. That's part of why most modern democracies have moved away from public displays of state violence. Overall, the stronger argument rests on consistency in the evidence. Reducing violent crime seems tied far more closely to effective institutions, prevention strategies, and reliable law enforcement than to increasing the harshness of punishment.
This week, Governor, Los Angeles became the first major school district to require screen time limits. We are? The first? Okay, they did another country. Australia did it, but I guess they're not here. What's your approach in Maryland? Yeah, where are you on screen time?
Well, I know we actually have legislation that's just works its way through Maryland that I will be signing that's actually going to do a ban-to-ban, a bell-to-bell ban on devices for our kids.
There's a school in Houston, by the way, that got a metal grinder, and if your kid is caught with any screen, their phone out during the school day at all, they put it ceremonially into the metal grinder, and it just goes in, and that's the end of your phone.
That's the end of your phone.
Yeah.
Well, it's just, and here's
that's
the
a
thing.
deterrence.
It is a deterrence. But our families and our teachers are going through enough right now. Right, we've had, especially post-COVID, we now have a teacher shortage that is vast, and we've been really focusing on getting more educators in the classroom, getting more men and more men of color inside of the classroom. We have cut the teacher vacancy rate in half in the state of Maryland, and a lot of them actually been, a lot of those federal workers have been fired. We started something called our Feds to Eds, which is actually saying if you're a federal worker who's been fired, if you're working for the NIH and you have a degree in physics, and you want to be a physics teacher, we're going to get you certified, we're going to get you qualified, we're going to get you in a classroom as quickly as possible. We've cut the teacher vacancy rate in half inside of the state of Maryland. I do not want our teachers fighting with Mark Zuckerberg for our kids' attention. And so I want to make sure that we're focusing, our kids are locked on task.
Any parent, okay? So I had kids in a great public school out where we live. Nothing has made a bigger difference than them pulling the phone. And if there was one fight that I could redo, that I totally blew. I mean, the list is long, but this one, if I could get this one back, I would have never given them the phone. I would have never given them the smartphone. Never. Not until they were 55 years of age.
We'll leave it there. Thank you, everybody.
What stands out in this discussion is how closely it matches years of warnings from education and child development research. Large studies from groups like the OECD and UNESCO consistently show that excessive smartphone use during school hours is linked to lower academic performance, weaker reading comprehension, and less engagement in class. In schools that fully restrict phones, improvements in focus and test scores often show up within a single school year, especially in math and science. This also lines up with concerns from pediatric and mental health experts about teen screen use. The American Academy of Pediatrics has pointed to links between heavy smartphone use and higher anxiety, sleep problems, and weaker face-to-face social skills, concerns that grew even more serious after the pandemic. When many students were already dealing with learning loss and social adjustment struggles, teachers have also warned repeatedly about how disruptive phones are in class. Surveys from several states show phone-related distractions are now one of the biggest causes of lost instruction time, with teachers often spending much of class just trying to regain students' attention from notifications and social media. That lost time adds up and affects long-term performance. There's also a workforce angle. Schools across the country face ongoing teacher shortages, especially in STEM and special education, and research suggests fewer classroom distractions can help retention, since stress and classroom management are top reasons teachers leave. What makes this argument stronger is its focus on measurable results rather than cultural debate. It frames phones as an educational issue tied to performance and development, not just a social one, a practical direction backed by educators and researchers who believe students need more structure and fewer distractions to succeed.